Welcome, accomplices. I'm Lynda Norman. I'm a watercolor artist in the beautiful province of British Columbia. Thanks for joining me today. I think we'll have some fun playing with some ink and pen work on some existing watercolor and just kind of relax into the process. I hear often about pen and wash, paint and pen, all different kinds of terms for it, but generally it's adding some pen work, ink of some sort, to a watercolor painted surfaces. And I don't know, there's lots of thought around that as to whether it's needs to be archival or whether it's even, worth doing because it's not a true watercolor. I don't know. As you know, I paint for me. I paint for how I love to spend my time with my paints and other things in my studio. So yeah, I think we'll just have some fun with it and relax into it. Before we do that, I just, as I was sitting down, I found these little plastic tabs that I talk about often in our painting sessions. And I can't remember if I'd showed you this in the past or not, but I thought I would just quickly give you an example. I'm just going to move this for 1 second. How I take the knife, X-Acto knife, and just take those little tabs off. You can see it's on a few of them. And so I take those off gently, and don't really want to spend a lot of time with it, but I do want to take those tabs off, and I don't want to cut in too deeply. Once I've done that, I have these little sanding blocks. You can pick them up at the dollar stores, hardware stores, that kind of thing. And I just give them just a little buff on the edges. Sometimes these corners can be a little bit sharp, and so every time I come down to my studio, I bring one or two down from my kitchen as they show up, and so I try to get them done before I put them in my little container on the side. So just a real quick buff, just to smooth off those sharp corners. Also, if on the odd one you can take some time and just buff it this way on both sides, you narrow that edge. Some of them can be quite chunky, and that's great for some applications, but sometimes you want just a finer line when you're dipping into your paint and popping that onto your surfaces. So that's just a real quick thing that I do to have these things handy. When I teach my classes, it's always fun to have a handful of these on hand for folks who don't have them or have come with perhaps a credit card that's been cut. The edges can be really sharp, and that can damage your paper. So just a real quick aside there for that. I always love to share little tidbits with you. So back to the business at hand. So the other day I was playing around with the saran wrap, putting paint down and then covering with saran, setting it aside, and I've got these beautiful colors, and as you probably know if you've been watching along, pinks and yellows and the brighter blues aren't typically my palette, but I really wanted to do something spring-like. I think was sort of on my mind. So I put these colors on. Quinacridone Rose, which is this color in my palette. I'm really happy that I have added this to my palette. It's such a versatile color. That mixed with my quinacridone gold gives me a whole array of beautiful oranges for my sunsets and the things that I love to paint. Mixed with the French ultramarine blue. It gives the most luscious purples you can imagine, and I think if you have those colors, you can play around and explore the depth that you can get from those. So the pink, the quinacridone rose, takes sort of the biggest part of this painting. There is a quinacridone pink that's quite similar. Either one I think would be just fine. So I did two pieces of bits of color on one piece of paper, and I'm just going to grab my scissors. I usually have a big cutter, guillotine cutter, but I don't have it out at the moment. And just for convenience sake, I'm going to I'm not too precise or too worried about how this is going to be, because when I'm done, I'm going to pop this on to this little cradle board. I think this one's 5 inches by 5 inches, which works out just perfect. I will have a little bit on this paper to trim off on all sides. So I just want to get an idea when I'm drawing on this one, where I'm going to be able to fit that piece of that cradle board and get as much of that design in as possible. I do love this here. I can see where I can make something of that. So I want to make sure I get that in. So I'm going to bring that down to there, and I just want to make a really light line, just sort of give me an idea of how far to go this way with that design. And then the same with this one. And I think, oops, with this one, I can already see almost, and I think both of these are going to be maybe floral arrangement style of design. And I can see where this one would be wanting to go sort of up and out this way. So let's see where, and I do love how this is all sort of faded out, but I love that too. So I'm going to try to get as much of all of that in as I can. So if I went to there, so I just want, I don't want to come too far into that area as well. All right, I'll set that aside. And we'll set this one aside. The fun part of this for me is peeling off that saran or that plastic wrap, and I think I'll do another one of those in the future for us to do together. But when I teach my workshops, this is such a fun process for you to do. If you're feeling stuck and you can't think of anything that you want to paint, but you want to get in there and explore some things, give it a try. Water on your paper, lots of water. Drop in your thick, rich colors and let that color move through the water. Put the plastic wrap on, cover it up with a light book or something just to hold it in place, set it aside, let it dry. Pulling that plastic wrap off is like opening a gift every time. And when we do it in workshops, I love that we get everything from sea creatures to spacemen to flowers or you name it. All kinds of things just kind of emerge. Some of them are very animated and cartoonish, and some are very subtle and beautiful and almost classical looking. So I think it really is a good way to explore just settling in and enjoying that creativity. And today I've got 3 different pens. This is a Uniball, Vision Uniball, and I chose this one because it's sort of a maroony red color, and I thought that might work well with the colors on the page. I have a Micron. This is a 01. It's a fairly fine tip. I don't know if you can see that. It's actually a very fine tip. You can get a 005 tip, which is even finer. For this rougher paper, the finer tips tend to get worn out pretty quickly. So I would use a 01 or a 02. Probably around that size for here. The bigger ones, the point 03 would be probably okay. The 5s tend to start getting a little bit heavy. So depending on the design that you want to add to your paper. And then I also have this. This is called a brush sign pen. I'm trying to see if there's a manufacturer on it, and there isn't. But this has a brush tip. They call it a brush tip. It's not flippy floppy like these brushes. It's fairly firm, almost like a felt pen, but it's going to give me just a more subtle, a lighter color than the black, sort of a dark grayish. I think I will keep it to those colors. You can get all colors of Micron pens and other fine point pens to doodle with. I've got red and green and different colors, but I don't think those would be conducive to what I've got on the page here. So I'm going to take a little moment to look at what is here. And I like to turn it all angles. I mean, this way could work. It could look like a bit of a floral spray coming up, but then there's this down here to sort of think about. I'm not sure what I see. I don't really see anything popping out there. still like it this way. I like it this way because I can see where there's, maybe this could turn into a bud sort of drooping over. I'm going to make these flowers. This is a flower that's sort of sitting half open, and then two others coming in. This one's sort of opening up that way. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'll go with that. So I'm going to start with the black, and let's start with getting just the base of this flower in, and we'll just give it a nice curvy stem, and we'll give it a little, I can't think of the name of the base of the flower, but I'm sure some of you will be able to fill me in the comments. And I think before I put leaves on, I'm going to get the other stems in just to sort of bring it all together. Okay, so let's take a look. Now this flower, I think, sort of will be open and the petals will come down this way. So to me, then that means that this stem would come more that way. And then we have this flower. I can sort of see that one blooming over that way. And so I'm going to bring the back of that through with a stem. Oops. Sometimes if you move too quickly on these rough surfaces, your pen can't keep up with the flow on that nib. Now these are very fine lines. Like I said, if you wanted thicker lines, then a thicker pen would certainly help. I love the fine lines to start with. If I want to afterwards, if it doesn't look quite as bulky as I want it to, I can always go over these lines with a heavier pen. Now I've got some choices. And I can see, if I follow the shapes and the shadows that are already there, and some of them are pretty subtle, so you know, if you take your time and sort of just relax into it, take a look at what some of these leaf shapes might look like. And I just want to follow them around. I don't know what kind of flowers these might be, but we'll just call them Lynda's flowers. That'll work. I forgot to put something on this little bud, and I want to make sure I do that. I'm going to add it to that stem there, I think. And we're going to just give it some shape that way. And a little base at the bottom. This is probably, maybe not necessary, but I love to have that sort of indication that there is a join onto the flower. I'm going to turn this way because I see this flower as sort of folding over that way. So, and these petals are just kind of loose and natural and organic. I could say they don't have to represent anything in particular, but I do like to see a little bit of shape to them. And going a little bit slowly. Now, because I've done the two shapes there and then this one sort of at the top, you sort of get the sense that this maybe is the center of the flower. So I'm just going to give a couple of little dark indications there. And we'll bring that down. Remember, these are whimsical, loose, sort of open to interpretation, and just a way to have fun. And I think sometimes, you know, when I talk with people who are wanting to paint and explore different mediums, watercolor, whatever it is, they have a hard time envisioning what could happen on the page. And I don't very often paint from a reference, as you know. So this is an exercise that helps me sort of keep my mind fresh at coming up with ideas and shapes. So now I've put this stem over to this way, so I'm guessing that this this flower is going to come, and it's going to have some sort of shapes that indicate that it's almost falling forward as well. And let's put a little indication there. And we'll turn it back around this way. See where I've missed some of the spots. And there's one in the background here. We didn't put a stem. Notice I say we. We're in this together. Put that right up like that. And this, I think this one's going to be more front facing, so the petals will all sort of come together almost like a wheel, and then we can add just a few more in the background if we need to bring some of those edges together. Okay. And a wiggly center. If you want to go more detailed, you can get in there and shape some more of these contours, but I think probably this is all we need. I'm just going to give this a different approach with just some circles. Because they're all the same color, I tried to not make anything specifically different. I wouldn't do one specifically to look like a tulip and one to look like a daffodil. They're all just kind of loose and flowing. Now that I've got most of my flowers in there, I mean, I could add more, absolutely. We could, let's take a look. I like this kind of blue thing, so let's see if we can't, I'm gonna, whoops, holding my pen very lightly. I want to come into this little blue bit here and make it look like it's some kind of a longer shaped flower. And because I've done that there, I probably would want to try it somewhere else. I'm not sure exactly where. Maybe just up here in this blue part here. And we'll make it. And make it look like it's coming up that way. And that's probably all I would do with that, other than a few little leaves. I said I would add some of the burgundy, so let's do a little bit of that, just to enhance some of the bases of the petals. Sorry, move that out of the way. Doesn't take much, just a little bit of pen work to indicate where there's some maybe a bit of shadow. And this one coming down, I think will just indicate, if you use a few little curved lines, that sort of gives you a bit of contour on the shape of your leaves. And this one, a little bud, I think could use a little bit of help at the bottom, just to give it a when I do these lines, I try to make them uneven. You don't want it to look like a harsh band necessarily. And a couple of a couple of those lines out further into the body. And when you look at that, if you see enough of that line work showing up, that's great. If it doesn't, go in with your black pen or your whatever color you've got, and you can, this little paint pen is, or brush pen is really good for filling in some of those areas. I wouldn't do a whole lot with this one, just just to keep it a little shadowed to give some dimension. And then we'll go back to our little black pen and we'll create a couple of leaves. I like making nice big long leaves. And if you crisscross them like that, if you can see that, I've done an arch and then come back up, cross the arch over, and brought this other line right back down to the beginning. It looks like the leaf is sort of bent over itself. And we'll do, you know what, I'm going to switch because that pen is already tired and I'm wanting to move a little more quickly. And now that I've done that, I'm going to go back into the stems, I think, just to make them a little bit darker. There we go. Color these in a little tiny bit. Again, with the leaves, you can just give some indication where the bends are, that there's some shadows happening. And then maybe we'll put another leaf up here. And one in here. So from here on, basically you're just doodling, adding bits and pieces. And I think for continuity, we'll put another leaf coming out here. And maybe one down there. And let's have a couple more on this side, just so it doesn't look too bare over here. And these are just shapes, right? They don't have to be, make that one look like it's coming from behind. And a little bit at the base of those, and I think that one is probably, oh, we didn't put the lines here. Just a little enhancement on some of those stems. A little initial, and we're done. So this will be fun to put on that little cradle board. I'm excited for that. It'll it'll be a pretty little design. And I've gone over my mark like I thought I would. Okay, that's fine. And that's okay if it comes off the edge. But yeah, I will get that mounted to that board. And in a future video, maybe I'll let you know what that looks like. I've got some new product to put varnish on these little pieces, and I'll do a video with those coming up one day once I figure out how that's all going to come together and how I need to prepare my work first. Thanks so much for spending the time with me today. I love that we got to just relax and have some fun playing around, following shapes, enjoying the color, enjoying the shapes. That's what it's all about. If you like what you've seen, I invite you to subscribe to my channel or visit my website or head on over to our members area. There'll be some fun things happening there.